What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Everyday Discipline, where we decode, deconstruct, and reverse engineer self-discipline for you to get any damn thing you want in your life. You want a better body, that's going to be discipline. You want a better business and make more money, that's going to be discipline. You want a connection with God, you want to have more confidence in yourself, guess what? That's discipline too. You want a better family, better relationships? You guessed it, discipline. If that's what you're here for, you are in the right spot, my friend. My name is Brent Kokel. I'm your host. I forget if I said that before, and if I did, I apologize. But if I didn't, at least now you know. All right, guys, I got another dog story to share with you guys here today, because that dog, well, I did not want this dog. I think I told you guys that whole story, but I didn't want the dog at all. Like, I had no desire to get a dog, but my wife really had a desire to get a dog. And then one day she says, hey, we're gonna pack up the kids and we're just gonna go look, like quote unquote, look at puppies. And me being stupid going like, oh, okay, yeah, we're just gonna go take a look. We'll see if we want a dog later. No. They handed this little puppy, maybe 3 weeks old, to my daughter, and it licked her face and she started laughing. And my wife looked at me with this look kind of like, I fucking got you. And I'm like, hey, you know what, man? I respect the strategy. You nailed me on that. There's no way I was getting out of it. So in any event, I did not want this dog, but the dog teaches me so many lessons that it's actually kind of worth the effort that we've got to take through to get this thing. So we've been training the dog. We've been working with a trainer. I've recorded a couple episodes about that. But what we've been trying to do is really integrate her into our house, which basically has a menagerie. We've got 2 cats. We've got a gray cat and we've got a lighter gray cat. And then we've got the dog, and then we've got 2 children. And so there's always something moving in the house, always something running, whether it's on 4 feet or 2 feet, it doesn't really make a difference. It's like there's always something moving. And the dog has a really high prey instinct. It's a German Shepherd, so it's a working dog. And it's got a high prey instinct, meaning that if something small is running by it, the dog wants to go after it like hard. And we don't know if it's going to kill it or what, but it wants to go after it, whether that's a kid, whether that's a cat, or anything. And I think she's a good-natured dog. I don't think she really wants to kill anything, but she definitely wants to go see how it tastes. So one of the things that we've been working with the trainer on, and working outside of our time with the trainer on, is having this German Shepherd go to her place, which is a dog bed, right? We call that place. And the idea is that you give her a command that says place, and she'll go to her place. Now, sometimes you've got to prompt her to get to her place. But when she gets there, then it's like, okay, cool. Well, the thing about free will is, even inside of a dog, is that she'll listen to you. And then if you're not trained as a human, like we're not, and she's not completely trained as a German Shepherd, well, the place lasts for a few seconds and then she wants to get up off of her place. And sometimes, like if you see her getting up off of her place, like taking 2 paws off of it, we're like, place, and she'll act like she was just stretching, kind of like, no, I wasn't gonna get off of that. No, you got me all wrong. That's not what's happening here. I was just stretching. But sometimes she'll want to walk around, which I understand. She wants to be part of the family. That's part of what dogs do. They want to be part of the family. But we didn't really want her to be part of the family. Everything was super tense. Like, we'd bring her in and it felt like if she gets off of her place, that means that she's going to chase a cat and probably kill a cat. And the cats have been revolting against us by barfing everywhere when the dog freaks them out. Like, the dog cornered one of them once, and then the next morning we woke up to cat barf, as kind of like the cats going like, fuck you guys for bringing that thing into our house. This was our house and you brought that thing. And that's what the cats are doing. So in any event, it's super tense when we bring her in. It's like, no, you can't be anywhere other than on your place. You can't walk around. You can't come over here and get petted. And it felt like so many things with this dog, it just feels like it's mean, but the trainer's telling us like, listen, you're gonna be better off for it. It's like, this is the way that it's gotta be in order for you to have a trained dog, and then it's gonna be easier for you to let out the reins later, which totally makes sense to me. But this level of tenseness in our house, assuming tenseness is an actual word, but that level inside of our house was creating a lot of stress. Like, the tense was causing stress. Stress between my wife and I, where we're like, man, if this thing gets off of here, we're gonna have more problems. We gotta deal with that. Now we gotta deal with the kids running, the kids' needs, like absolute chaos. And then the trainer put us in our place, because we were thinking like, hey, this dog, basically, we want you to take a German Shepherd and make her into a lab where she doesn't really do anything. And the trainer said like, listen, guys, you have a German Shepherd. You can choose to integrate her into your family. She's going to be a great loyal dog, or you guys can choose to do what you're doing right now and continue to be frustrated. And it's like, I'm so glad you told me the truth, because it awoke me to the fact that we just needed to have her be part of the family. And so we decided to let her roam a little bit more. And when she got to roam a little bit more and we didn't immediately stop it, everything in the house became like lower, like the energy became lower. Now, what I get out of this, and the lesson that I want you guys to take away from this episode, because it was a lesson that I took away from that situation, is that when you try to control every aspect of something, you lose control of the entire objective. When we try to micromanage, in other words, we wind up really having trouble with the macro, like the big picture things that we're ultimately trying to accomplish. Because really what I wanted in my house was I wanted peace. And I wasn't going to get peace if I was trying to micromanage the free will of the dog, who does not give a shit what I want, only cares about what she wants. Because the details, my friend, do not necessarily get you to the intended objective, unless you see each detail simply as a component of getting to the end objective. Super important point right there, right? So the details, obviously they matter, but not necessarily getting you to the intended objective. Because we tend to look at details in a very, very narrow lens, but we've got to broaden the lens to see if the details ultimately matter and that they're going to be a component of the entire thing that we're trying to create. Now, I think about this in the context of like, it would be crazy for me to micromanage a workout. Like, think about if I was getting ready to go work out, like I cared exactly how tight my shoelaces were tied, and that I always did the left one before the right one. And I recognize right now I'm probably describing people with OCD. If that's you, then maybe you need to do that. But I'm thinking about micromanaging it as a relationship that I've got to my workouts. And then I think about exactly how much chalk needs to be on my hands in order to make sure that I grip the rings or the bar or whatever, and the direction of the plates on the barbell, which way they're facing. Like, it would be crazy for me to micromanage each one of those things, because I would end up losing sight or losing some ability to focus on the entire thing, which is I want to go work really hard, get sweaty, have to take a shower, and like be on with my day. That's ultimately all I'm looking to do. And I can do that because I don't micromanage every little piece of it, because really all I do is I just lace up, chalk up, and go. That's the only way to happen. Now, the same thing, like when I think about micromanagement, it's not like the same thing was not true from a business standpoint, because I was trying to micromanage everything. I was trying to micromanage each stage of a cycle. And I would look through this and I would go like, wait a second, how come this piece of it here isn't working? I would look at it like I would have these massive spreadsheets with a bunch of numbers on them, so much data and statistics about like where people were at each stage of the prospecting process, where they were at each stage of the sales process. And it's valuable information, and some of it helped me see, but man, did I lose sight of what the ultimate objective was, which was to help people. I would be so focused on bringing people in that I was less focused on helping the people that already were. This was a super powerful revelation, because it changed the way that I approach things, and I wind up being in a spot where I actively try to get less people into anything that I'm doing in forms of a coaching program, but just give more to those people. Night and day versus the last, even call it, 6 months ago, depending on when you're listening to this episode. I'm recording it in February of 2022. But it's like 6 months ago is entirely different for me as a coach in terms of my level of intensity going forward, because I was focused on these details that didn't get me to the end result. The end result that I was ultimately looking for was to be able to help and impact men's lives. Help them build up their businesses without destroying the rest of their life in the process, which is what I see a lot of people do. I see a lot of rich guys that are not fit, whose kids hate them, whose wives want to divorce them, and they've got no sense of spirituality and purpose. I see that all the time. And so I'm like, I know that I can help people make the money, but I've got to be able to do it in a way that helps them not destroy everything else and burn it to the ground in the process. That's the ultimate goal. That's the big thing that I'm doing. But I got stuck in these micromanaging moments where I'm trying to look at every little step of the process, and that is not there. So once I recognized that all it was about was taking care of the people and helping the people that are here, everything else just took care of itself because it gave me clarity on what actually mattered. So I want you to keep your focus on what you're really trying to do. And the way you're going about what you do will fundamentally change, right? Think about what it is you're trying to do. And then the way that you're doing it is going to change fundamentally as a result of constantly keeping your eyes and mind focused on what it is you're really, really trying to create inside of your own life. So as I wrap up this particular episode, I want to have you guys do the same thing that we always do, which is an introspective question, right? This is really what this is about. This, at its core, we talk about discipline, but discipline's just the vehicle that I use to help get people where they want to go, because it's the thing that I've truly, truly mastered in my life, getting myself to do the things that I know I need to do, even when I don't want to do them. And a big way that I got to this stage was by doing a lot of assessment of who I was, and still today, who I am. And so that's the process I want to guide you guys through consistently as you're listening to these episodes, because there's got to be an action coming out of this. I get it that podcasts are entertainment to some extent, but getting something out of it and actually like moving the needle in your own life is ultimately what I want for you. And you do that when you do the work of the show, which basically consider this the fee, right? You come here and you don't pay anything to do it, but the fee is to do the work for yourself. If you wind up just listening to these episodes and that's all the interaction that you and I ever have, there's no personal interaction, you don't come to an event, you don't go in a program, but you do all this work and you wind up getting better, I am immensely happy about that. So the question that I want you to ask yourself today is, where in my life have I been trying to control too much? It might be something you think about, but bet you anything you haven't asked yourself that. Where in my life am I trying to control too much? And then once you figure out the answer to that, then how can I try to control less? Or how can I actually control less? Because there is no try, there's only do. Do and do not. I think Yoda said something about that. And Yoda knew what the fuck was up. All right, so there you go, guys. That's the show for the day. Hey, before you leave, do me a favor, whatever platform you are listening to this podcast on, please write a review for me. That helps with the algorithm. I really, really want this message to hit the people that it needs to hit. And this, you rating this show, especially when you give it a good rating, helps me get to more people. So if you liked the show today, please consider taking a minute and rating the show on whatever platform you're on. It would mean the world to me if you would do that. I actually look at them and really, really appreciate it. So thank you in advance for doing that. But as always, guys, I'm going to do my job and come back next time. And I want you to do your job and you come back too.